This is the second in a series of videos introducing you to Meals on Disk. This video will demonstrate how to start the application up for the first time and the various options that are available in the application. Easiest way to start up Meals on Disk is to use the desktop icon and to double click it to start. The message that comes up says, "Thank you for installing Meals on Disk. As this is the first time the software has been run, a new database will be created." As well as that, you will start up the database service, the underlying application that's needed to read and write data from the database. It will also set up the database so that from this point onwards, every time you restart your computer, every time you start it up, it will automatically start up the database, so you won't have to wait for it to start up the database service every time. So we'll just click OK and proceed. Starting the database service. This takes a few seconds. And then it actually creates the new database. And that's finished, and it brings up the splash screen, version 2.4. Thank you for evaluating Meals on Disk. This, some brief introduction, explains because you're in evaluation mode, will last for 60 days, and it outlines the restrictions that are in place while you're in evaluation mode. Just click OK. Now it's asking us to enter in some details. This information is required to produce some of the reports, so it's pretty essential that we do it up front, so we'll do it now. Meal service name, I'll just call it demonstration service. And this is where you put in some of the MDS information. Agency ID and agency name. Agency name is only used in certain situations, certain states reporting, but agency ID is required for all agencies. This is an item that's provided to you by Hack. I believe it's a 5-digit code, and you would enter it in there. Now, obviously, I don't have one, so I'll just put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a default. And let's say we do agency name. I'll do the same thing, demonstration service. Alright, so click OK. If we clicked cancel at this point, it would not save any of this information. So we click OK, so it saves it. Now, we're in the screen here to create a new client. As tempting as that might be, that's not what you should be doing first. When this form comes up automatically at the start, every time you start up Meals on Disk, it brings you into this section where it's creating a new client. This was done to facilitate the creating of new clients, but it has also caused some confusion, so this might be changed in future versions. But the way to get through this point is what it will now do is it will ask you to fill in all the mandatory details before we proceed. I'm suggesting that's not what you want to do right now. You want to set up some of the configuration. So to stop the creation of this new client, we click the cancel button down the bottom here, and it brings us back to record 0, indicating that this is client 0 of a total client numbers of 0, so there is no one in this database yet. The menus along the top provide you the access to the various features and functionality of the software. File basically just has exit. This will be expanded in a future version to have more flexibility around backup and restoration. view, you can view clients, which is this form here. This is the client form. There are also forms for entering in payments and adjustments, and we'll see that in the next video. These are various reports that are available, also a subject of a future video. Tools, which is what we'll be using in this video to set up the various options. And when you have multiple windows open, they will all be accessible down here, and you can very easily switch between windows using this menu. Help, there's the About screen that gives you information about the version you're running. There's registration form that has the registration code that gets sent to Community Tech if you want to purchase the software, and we will return you a license key, 25 character license key that you enter in here that will unlock all the features of the software. I don't have one here, so I'll just press cancel. And help under contents brings up the help file, which hopefully has useful information to get you going and to solve any problems you might have. Okay, so close help and go back to this form. Options, they're all under the Tools menu up here. Click the Tools menu, and the place to start, this is the options form that came up before automatically, so that's all filled in. That's okay, so we don't need to touch that anymore. Maintenance is the place we're going to look at the moment. Now, despite the order of the menu items here, I think we're going to start with delivery runs first, because it's probably the simplest to understand. What we have here is definition of the different runs that you have for delivering meals. There are 3 shown here, but you can have as many as you'll need, really. Each run has a 1 or 2 character code and a description that ends up on all of the reports. So the default that comes up on the new database is runs 1, 2 and 3, which is not very interesting. So let's just change them a little bit to give them a description. We'll still call them runs 1 and 2, but we might give it a suburb, and let's pick some suburbs in Melbourne. So first run might be in Preston, second run might be in Kew. It might end up being a long way apart, these runs. So just to show we can have both numeric and alphabetical characters in here, let's call it run 2A, and this one we'll call run 2B. And suburb here will have South Yarra. As you can see, this little table I'm entering in here, I can easily click the mouse on any of these cells and move around, much like you would in a spreadsheet. To create a new row, the star indicates that this will be the next row to be created. So to create that as a row, I just click in there. Comes up with null, meaning empty or blank, to start off with, and we have to enter something in both of these fields to proceed. So let's change our naming convention completely and call this run AB, and this suburb we're going to pick Geelong. So this is a very large area this service has, but just to demonstrate that you can enter in these names, and we'll use them later on to produce some reports. Click OK to keep that. Okay, and this is a message that comes up every time you change the delivery runs. Pretty much informational, a bit of a warning. What it says, changes to delivery runs won't be available from an open client details form. You should close all client details forms and reopen from the menu. So let's click through that and I'll show you what it means. What it means is when you enter in client information here, you also get to choose which delivery run they're on. And if I chose a delivery run now, it would not have all those various options that were there before that are just entered. So it won't have run 1, 2A, 2B and AB. It has run 1, 2 and 3 still. So what that means is we would have to close this form and open it up again here on the client under View Clients to bring it up. But since we don't have any clients in here anyway, it doesn't really matter for us at the moment. So let's go into something else in maintenance. Maintenance menu items. Okay, so this is another little table, but this is a table of the various meal items that your clients can choose to have in their deliveries. So in this situation we have hot meals, frozen meals, something called a special meal, which in this particular case is used for anything that would be specific for that client, if they have particular dietary requirements, etc. These they could be included under there. A salad, soup, dessert, a diabetic dessert as an option, fruit as another option, orange juice or apple juice. So what we have here is a list in numbered order of these items. The item name in this column here is the name that will appear on the preferences form for the clients, and I'll show you that later on. These descriptions, we've got a singular description and a plural description. Some of the reports for delivery instructions will have a list of the various items that are being delivered to that client. And for example, if someone's having 2 orange juices that day for whatever reason, or 2 frozen meals, rather than putting a number in front of the word 2 frozen, we just got an option here to make it plural. So if the client is receiving 1 of a particular item, it will use those descriptions. If they are receiving more than 1, 2 or 3 or 4, they will use those descriptions. So for example, you might say 1 hot meal plus 2 frozens. Now we can change this any way we like. If we want to make that frozen meals, we can do that without a problem, and that will be picked up next time you run the delivery run reports. This column here, normal, this is really meant to be a time-saving thing more than anything else. When new clients are entered, they will automatically, the preferences will automatically be set to the normal preferences. So in this case is 1 hot meal, there's 1 soup, 1 dessert and 1 orange juice. That's what this service has decided is the normal meal. Of course you can change any of this. You can say we don't have soup, soup would be something special, so no soup is the normal way of doing it. Labels. There's a report to produce labels, sticky labels to put onto meal boxes and packaging. You can decide which items need to have a label. So in this situation, every hot meal will have a label, every frozen meal, every special meal, every salad, every diabetic dessert, and every fruit item. What does not get labels is soup, normal desserts, orange juice and apple juice. Presumably orange juice and apple juice are already pre-packaged and have some sort of labeling on them already. The label is not so much what's inside the item, what's inside the meal box, for example. It's more where it gets delivered to and delivery instructions to help for the volunteers or the delivery people to deliver the meals. If you've got a large number of, if most clients have a hot meal and so it's not something you really want to put a label on, it's not really necessary, the meal item delivery information is already on their delivery list. So let's say we have no meal items, no labels on hot meals, so we can do that there. And you may also decide, we will have labels on apple juice because that's an unusual situation. Most people have orange, so if they have apple, we'll have a label on it so it has their name on it. Now, there's two sets of pricing here for each of these items, substitute pricing and full pricing. Some meal services have the concept of pricing which is different. Depends on whether the client is eligible for subsidy. What that really means is if the service is eligible to claim a subsidy for that client. Some situations where you're not eligible to claim may be if you're providing the meal as part of a CAPS package, and in that situation we refer to the client as not being eligible for a subsidy. And if I can just move this window, you can see there's a subsidised box over here, and we'll talk about that later on. But here we have the concept of the different sets of pricing. If you know that you only have one set of pricing, regardless of CAPS packages or anything like that, there's no problem in making these numbers exactly the same, and then the subsidised flag over here will make no difference to how much they're charged. The way it's set up here too is set up for different individual item pricing. So if someone has a hot meal and a soup and orange juice, under the subsidised pricing they would be charged $4. If they had a dessert as well, they would charge $5. The way some services operate is they will charge one price for a delivered meal, regardless of whether someone decides to have dessert or not. So if someone said, look, I'll have the soup, but I don't really want dessert ever, they will still be charged the $4 or $5 the same. So the pricing is not based on the individual items. The way you would do that here, and I'll demonstrate that, is the way I would do it is I would charge $4 on the hot meal, the frozen meal, the special meal, and the salad, and then I would charge $0 on the rest of them. So what that means is if someone had a hot meal, a soup, a dessert, and an orange juice, they're only going to be charged $4. This probably not as good a way to do it, because if someone orders, for whatever reason, someone orders a hot meal, soup, and 2 desserts and an orange juice, they will still be charged the $4. What this really means is up to the administrator, the office staff, to, I guess, look for that sort of thing. But if you want to do it, there's nothing to stop you from doing it. And presumably in this case, we'd make the full price $5 for each of these, and $0 for the rest, because we're doing meal delivered pricing. One column to go, number of meals. Seems a strange thing to call it, but what this is part of the MDS reporting to HACC. You have to report on the number of meals delivered. If we tracked all these things and reported them to MDS, we would be telling them the number of items delivered, but they don't regard the number of meals that they're looking for is the collection of things that you deliver. So along the lines of what we've done here with the grouping the pricing, I've got number of meals 1, 1, 1, 1 for hot, frozen, special and salad. So if a person gets one hot meal, that would be counted as one meal delivered regardless of what soup, dessert or juice they may receive. The other thing to think about that too is if a person received a hot meal and a frozen meal on one day, that would add up to 2 meals being delivered that day, and hot meal and 2 frozens on a Friday, that would add up to be 3. So that all gets collated up to the MDS report. That's probably it for this one. The only other thing I would add is I think it's very important to set this up first before you start entering in your clients and your preferences. There is no ability at the moment to insert new entries in here once it's set up. You can only add them at the end, which may be a little inconvenient. So it's worthwhile spending a little bit of time to get this in the order that you want. Maybe that means you have no salads. So unfortunately, at the moment, there's no way to delete this either. So it will mean having to type over these if you just want to delete a row. That's likely to be fixed in next upcoming version because it's a bit of a nuisance, but it's there for a reason at the moment, and that reason being to prevent the loss of any historical information if these meal items get changed along the way. So we just need to fix that up to make it a bit more checks and balances to ensure that there's no potential loss of historical information, and then we can allow this to insert and delete from this table. So expect that in the coming months. Okay, one last thing to show under this configuration is meal descriptions. I mentioned before that a lot of the reports will show a complete list of the meal items that are going to be delivered. Don't have to do that actually. There is another way to do it, and if there is a common grouping of meal items that most people get, for example, hot meal plus a soup plus a dessert plus orange juice, if that's the most common one, then you can actually have an abbreviated meal description. So rather than saying, in this case it would be saying hot plus soup plus dessert plus orange juice, it can substitute all that for the word normal. Now maybe we don't like that, maybe we'll make it normal meal. Normal meal. And similarly we have a plural as well, so if someone was receiving 2 sets of these meals, perhaps for themselves and a carer or themselves and a spouse, normal meals. Okay, so really this is just a shorthand way of expressing the list of meal items that are being delivered. There's one here at the end, no meal. Just leave that one there. It's a sort of a catch-all at the end. But let's say we don't want this frozen one. Just click on that and press delete, and we'll get rid of that. Okay, finished. Click OK. Right, so that's probably the end for configuration of the options. Next video will show entering in some client information.